There is a city at the edge of the ancient world. It sits where the Nile meets the sea, a place built not from stone alone, but from the hunger of human minds. Alexandria, home to the greatest library ever assembled, a city where astronomers mapped the heavens, where ideas from every corner of the known world arrived like ships into harbor. And in the heart of that city, in the late 4th century, there was a woman. Her name was Hypatia. She was born into knowledge the way others are born into wealth. Her father, Theon, was one of the Alexandria's most respected scholars, a man who believed, with quiet radicalism, that his daughter's mind deserved the same education as any man's. He was not wrong about this. Hypatia did not merely receive what her father gave her, she surpassed it. She studied mathematics, astronomy, philosophy. She mastered the works of Plato and Aristotle, not to recite them, but to question them. She built instruments to measure the stars, and then she began to teach. Students came from across the Mediterranean, from distant cities, distant faiths, distant worlds. They sat with her in open colonnades under the Egyptian sun, and she taught them how to think, not what to think, how. The governors of Alexandria sought her counsel. Powerful men wrote her letters asking for her wisdom. She moved through the highest circle of the city, not as a curiosity, not as an exception, but as an authority. This was almost unimaginable. But Alexandria in 415 AD was not the city it had once been. The empire was fracturing, and into the cracks between old power and new faith, something dark was crawling. The city was splitting between the pagan traditions that had built its intellectual legacy and the rising tide of Christian orthodoxy remaining the empire from within. This was not a theological argument, it was a war over who would control the city's mind. Hypatia stood at the center of this tension without choosing a side. She had Christian students, she had pagan students. She taught all of them with the same rigorous, unsentimental love for truth. She believed, perhaps naively, perhaps heroically, that the life of the mind transcended politics. It did not. Cyril was the bishop of Alexandria, a man of absolute conviction who mistook certainty for wisdom. He watched Hypatia's influence over the city's prefect with growing unease. And somewhere in their conflict, a rumor was born that Hypatia was the obstacle standing between Cyril and the city's soul. History does not record whether Cyril ordered what happened next. It records only what happened. It was March. A mob intercepted her as she traveled through the city. They pulled her from her carriage, dragged her into a church, and there, in the place built for the worship of a God of mercy, they killed her with shards of broken pottery and tile. When it was done, they burned what remained. She was perhaps 60 years old. No trial, no accusation, no answer she was permitted to give. Just the silence that is forced upon those whose voices have grown too inconvenient. In killing her, they made her eternal. Hypatia has an asteroid named after her, a lunar crater, a feature on Venus, films, novels, 1,000 essays. Her murders survive in history only because someone had to record what they did. But I don't want to end this story with triumph, because I think that would be dishonest. Hypatia did not win, not on the day that mattered. She was brilliant, and it was not enough. She had spent her life building something real, and it took one afternoon to destroy it. Perhaps this is what we carry from her story. Knowledge was never a shield. It was never meant to protect its bearer from the darkness of the world. It was meant to illuminate, briefly, imperfectly, at great cost, the shape of the darkness itself. Hypatia saw clearly, and she refused, until the very end, to close her eyes. In a world that has always preferred comfortable lies, that choice carries a price. She paid it. And the light she left behind, fragmented, scattered, surviving only the words of others, still reaches us across 16 centuries, as all real light does.